This is the big one. This is 100th video. I'm gonna do it on a piece that I really like. It's the Champion generator. I gotta take it all apart today, so that's what I'm gonna do. Okay, what we got is our Champion generator. Now, I took the filter out, so I gotta take the tank off, so that's what we're gonna do. This cover goes on here, and these here go on the side. And all these do is they push into two rubber pucks, right? Two of the rubber grommets. So when you take the top off, all you do is just pull them off and they come off. The top comes off, then you pull them off, right? Take these two pieces out. There's only two halves of this, as you'll see. So the yellow plastic is attached by bolts along here in the center and on the bottom. And on the tank holds it too. So you gotta take the one bolt out of the tank, right? And this will come right off, right? It just picks up, just a pull. Now, very important when you look at this, is you look at this motor, and almost all the knockoffs look exactly the same. Like these motors are made by a lot of people and they use them in a lot of generators. So if it looks similar to the ones you're buying, that's why. Because they use this for everything, right? There's that little screw in there, you see? That's what holds that on there. So when you get that off, you can spin it around here. And then you take the fuel line off. And then you can take the tank off, right like that. That's our tank, right? Now, if you look down in here, this is basically your generator. Okay, so this is basically all it is. You just check it over, make sure. Now this is air coming in, and so it blows it around. Spark plug's tight. Now there's a coil there, and just check all the connections, right? And what we're going to do is we're going to see this here is cracked, this plastic thing, so we're going to repair it. We're going to take the carburetor off. That's it. The air intake. This is the choke cable. This is for the throttle. This here wire, so be very careful with that. And you pull this back like so, and off she comes. Take the bowl out. And see all that little fine stuff in there? Remember in California I showed you this? Same thing. We had and chunks, little chunks of rubber and stuff. That's what we're cleaning out. So we're going to clean that up today. This is the side that goes up against the engine. And this is the choke side, right? Now, where you get the air bleed, it comes up through here and down through here. And that's where the air bleed comes from. So that's why you got to make sure that's clean. And there is a little port right down in there. You can't see it. But we'll take this all apart and we'll check it all out. So you remember the other ones I showed you? The bleed port was in here. This one doesn't have it in there. It's in the side. So you just have to take that out and clean that out, right? And then you take that plunger out of there and you can clean it all out. Then you brake clean all this here and clean it all out. And it'll be just fine. Check it all out. Make sure the choke works good and the throttle. Okay, now right here, I'll get a little point thing. Right here is the electric motor. And here's the little spring that works on the throttle, right? That has to be in place. These are collars. One's long, one's short, and you got to put them in there. Make sure these bolts are tight because this is what controls the throttle, right? And then you got your choke here, which is right here. This one here. So, yeah, make sure that all works. It's all cleaned, and then you can put it all back together. Okay, now we got the carburetor all together. And you'll see this is the inside. This is the one that goes towards the engine. So this one has to be sealed. But the other side is to the outside. So it doesn't really need to, because the air comes in here anyway, right? So it doesn't have to be super sealed. But I always put a little bit of copper coat on there and seal it up. And you just make sure everything works, right? Now the throttle won't work because it's got a motor on here, so you can't really, you have to have the motor working, so you need power to it. So we'll fix that up. Now this here, what everybody wonders what the hell that's for, that is a drain for the bowl. Now sometimes you can just drain that and get water, but doesn't matter. I'll show you where the bowl is after. But that's the carburetor, so we're going to put that back together. Okay, when you're in doubt, and we're going to drain all this gasoline out of here back into the tank. So what you do is take a coffee filter, an ordinary old coffee filter, and you can cut a piece off or make it fit and just put it into the funnel like so. And then you pour all your gas through that filter and it'll take out all the garbage out of it. Now when you're draining the gasoline, when you get it down to low on the tank, you keep shaking it, and whatever's in there for garbage will end up coming back out because you'll suspend it in the fuel, right? Just like so. Now I know you don't come to this channel for chit chats and all that, and I'll show you why. You know you got a problem if you look in there and look at all the garbage in there. And the thing is, gasoline won't go through the paper, then you got an issue. And look at the garbage in there. That's out of the fuel tank. So that's all the dirt that was inside that filter. Now, you think it might not run? I'm thinking it might not run. So, now it's going to be hard to see in there, but I think I might be able to get it with a flashlight. Maybe. If you get in there and see, now on the bottom, there's still some stuff floating around in there, right? So what we'll do is we'll pick that up with a rag, and then we'll pick the rest of the gas up with a rag, and then we'll put some brake clean in there, of course, and then we'll pick that up. Brake clean in there to clean it out. You stick a rag in there. Now remember, you can't leave the rag in there, so you get a pair of needle nose, grab it, and just move it around, and then pull it out. Okay, remember we're doing this because it was cutting out, right? Now, on the tank, there's the fuel shutoff, okay? Now the fuel shutoff, above that is a fuel filter that they don't tell you about. And look at all the dirt on there. That's all the dirt on it. So when it get down to, you got to remember when I pulled this out, it pulls it right out of the tank, so it probably spreads it right up. Now, that's what we're after, is that stuff. So all you do is take this out, clean it out, put it back in the tank. So that's what that is. That's the filter in it. Okay, now very important with this is the fuel water separator, basically the fuel shutoff. Now this comes down through the tank's here. This comes out. Now this is what the bowl underneath looks like. Just a little bowl, and there was some stuff in there. Now when you take this off on the generator, be very careful. There's no ring in there. Sometimes they have a tendency of falling down, so just double check that with a mirror or something. If you don't take it all apart like this, you can just use a mirror. And then you just screw that back in, and then we can put this back on the tank. And I noticed that this rubber boot was off. Somewhere it come dislodged, right? So what that might have been doing, maybe, is putting hot air into the intake. So you got to make sure they're all in place there, right? Now if it gets in there and it won't, put a little bit of contact cement on there, weather stripping glue. And that'll, see, this one here's off too, see? It's all out. We got to make sure that's all back in place. Just like so. Okay, so we're looking after this generator, and what you got here is your main control box right here. Now there's not really much you can do with that. If it goes out, it's pretty much you got to replace it. There's not much you can do with it, right? And then you got, this is your control panel from the front. Now this boot was ripped, so we'll put a little silicone and wire tie on that, and then we'll tie these wires up. This one was vibrating, you can see it here, and these ones here were vibrating around, so we'll tie all them up. We'll tie all them wires up, and that's your coil right here. So if you have to take your coil, you just have to take the tank off, the fuel, or the top off, the fuel tank off, and it's right there. We fixed up all the boots. You see all the boots are, oops, get my big fingers out of the way. All the boots are all fixed up now. So I'm thinking this thing will work really good. So, okay, so there's the filter after you put the gas in it. And as you notice, there's nothing in it. That's a good thing. Start it up just like this before you get all put that together, because if you have something that's screwed up, then you can check it, right? On, fuel on low idle. You can use a choke. There you go. Now remember when we first started this thing wouldn't run. Remember that? It didn't run because it wasn't getting no gas, right? So now we got it running. It should start on the first pull. That's a good gauge because these generators are pretty good. And they should always start on the first pull. So if it doesn't start on the first pull and you got to pull it more than one or two, then you know there's an issue. Okay, now very important. This is a cover for the muffler side, right? Now remember I told you this is the intake here for to cool the motor. Well, there's a little filter on there, so you got to clean this side of it. Be very careful about that. This one was almost pretty much plugged, but you got to clean that. So just remember that. I'm not getting paid for any of this, but if you know somebody in Champion, if they're willing to give me a brand new 2000, I will give this one to somebody at the van build. So you got about a month and a half. So Champion, if you're interested, I don't usually back anything, but I will back a Champion. So I'm going to leave that with you now. I hope you enjoyed. This is our 100th video. Any questions, put them down below. And that's all I got for you.